The Australian state of New South Wales has sounded a fresh warning as COVID-19 cases climb. The state's leader says it is the scariest period since the pandemic began. The latest outbreak is centred on Sydney. Now, the city has reported 11 new cases. The third day in a row, the tally has entered double digits. The Delta variant is driving the spread. More than 30 cases are now linked to the Bondi cluster. Health officials say transmission could be happening through fleeting contact with infected persons. Authorities are bracing for more cases as the virus enters state politics. The Agriculture Minister has tested positive, while the Health Minister has been moved into isolation. Sweeping restrictions have already been imposed across Sydney, and officials are resisting calls for a full lockdown.
It is a very contagious variant, but at the same time, we are at this stage comfortable that the settings that are in place are the appropriate settings, but that's so long as everybody does the right thing.
Danielle Robertson joins us live now from Sydney. Danielle, New South Wales confident that current measures can curb the spread?
At the moment, it does seem that the Premier is cautiously confident that although the cluster has grown, it is under control. And that has a lot to do with the contact tracing teams here in New South Wales, that although there are more than 40 locally acquired cases here, most have been tracked down, the source found, and most have been in isolation. So far, Sydney has avoided a lockdown. At the moment, they're sticking to the mandatory mask-wearing rules for all indoor venues, as well as limitations for visitors in households, and there are restrictions. If you live in a hotspot, you have restrictions on where you can travel, most not being able to leave Greater Sydney. There are more than 100 potential exposure sites listed across Sydney, but people do seem to be heeding the warnings. Cafes have been closed, shopping strips have been deserted, and transport like ferries and buses have mostly been emptied, and people are getting tested. And it's because of all of these reasons as to why the Premier does feel that at the moment the cluster is under control, despite the fact that we are dealing with the highly contagious Delta variant. At the moment they feel it's under control, but they haven't ruled out further restrictions if it worsens.
Also, the outbreak appears to be spreading into neighbouring states. Is that a serious concern?
Yeah, that's right. The virus has jumped borders. A case has been confirmed and linked to the latest New South Wales outbreak. A man who flew from Sydney to Melbourne tested positive to the highly contagious Delta variant, and his employer also tested positive today to the virus. It has been picked up quite quickly, and the rest of the country has also responded very swiftly. It now seems that the hotspots of New South Wales have been isolated from the rest of the country. States and territories have closed their borders to this area, so people have worked quite quickly to prevent any more interstate cases. And that did cause a little bit of travel chaos today. Flights were cancelled, planes were turned around, and the New Zealand travel bubble has also been halted for the minute. So the quick response does mean that the risk at the moment is quite low, but contact tracers are still keeping an eye on how far the outbreak has spread, and we will find out more information in the coming days.
Good to know. Many thanks for those updates. Danielle Robertson there speaking to us from Sydney.